Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Straight Jacket White Rabbit. My name's Adam, and as always, I'll be your host. You guys, most of us have either ourselves or through someone we know been affected by a missing person, a family member who went away, an aunt, uncle, distant cousin, or a friend's family member who went missing. This is because in our world, globally every year, over 8 million people are reported missing. 8 million people. Let that sink in for a moment. Every single year, 8 million people. Now, I'm aware that we recover people who are missing all the time. But they would have you believe it's some miraculous number that are recovered, you guys. If you look at organizations like the Red Cross or the International Organization for Migration, these companies talk about, although the majority of missing people are found. Well, what's the majority of 8 million? 6 million? That still leaves 2 million people every year gone, disappeared, possibly murdered, abducted. We don't know. Now, a lot of people believe that you can account for these missing people by simply rattling off, criminal human elements, human trafficking, murder, serial killers, all these crazy people in the world. And I'm not saying these things don't happen, but do you really believe they happen to the tune of millions of people every year for years and years and years and years and years and years and years? Where are these people going? Now, I'm aware of how big of a problem forced labor and sex trafficking and all of these things are, and they're complete tragedies, you guys. No doubt about it. But I'm not talking about those numbers. I'm talking about the excess of possibly millions of people who go missing, who are not part of the few statistics that we are given as an explanation. And most of them are, like I said, trafficking, forced labor, things of this nature, the occasional murders. But what happens when those answers don't foot the bill for the amount of people that are disappearing worldwide every single year? I mean, think about how long this has been happening. I remember reading about this when I was a kid, and the numbers were almost at, I think it was like 7 million some odd people, but it was like 7 million people in the 90s a year. It's just going up. The numbers have not decreased. In fact, they're still steadily increasing. Now, I have a theory about some of these things, and like I said, I do believe that different things happen to different people. They're not all going to the same place, of course. Some people are tragically being abused by other humans. But like I said, we're talking about the other examples. One of which I want to talk about is the disappearances in national parks. A lot of people go missing in national parks, you guys. Like a ridiculous amount. Places like Alaska have more disappearances in their national parks, let me tell you, than the entire rest of the United States. People just vanish. And the news and the media will play it off as, oh, this inexperienced hiker must have gotten turned around and lost. But the problem is a lot of these people who disappear are bushmen. These are people who are not soft people. These are people who are used to packing it in and overcoming severe weather that drops in out of nowhere, defending their base camps and things from wild animals and predators. These are hunters and sportsmen. Now, no, not everyone is, but the vast majority of these people that go missing in these areas are people who, by all accounts of friends and family members, usually know the area. They're usually well equipped and, seemingly logical people. How is it so hard to vanish in modern day Earth? I mean, think about it, you guys. I'm aware that, you know, most people say, well, we have large spaces of wilderness. People go missing in mountain areas where a town is like 3 miles away. And they just go missing in the woods, never to be seen again. We're not talking about people who only go missing in the backcountry, 70 miles from the nearest town and stuff. These are people who knew what they were doing, were in well-traveled areas for, the outdoors type, hiking trails, things of this nature, hunting areas, and they vanish without a trace. And these are not just single people. There have been entire families who have vanished. One person I can understand, but an entire party of campers, an entire family on vacation in the woods, these types of groups of people going missing all at the same time. And the prosaic response is always the same, you guys. The government will tell you each time, oh, they must have hit bad weather and gotten confused and separated and lost, and they didn't stick together, and they probably didn't survive, and we'll end up finding their remains at some point. But as we've explored here on my channel, there are other dark things that live in these cordoned off areas. National parks, I truly do believe, were put up as kind of a buffer between us and certain creatures. One of the main ones being Bigfoot, here in North America at least. Make no mistake, Bigfoots are known to kill people. They're known to kill humans. They're known to attack humans, and they are known to be very territorial. Most people who claim to have encountered an angry Yeti or an angry Bigfoot or an angry Sasquatch will tell you that they are not shy about being aggressive. They'll throw large stones, almost boulders. They'll yell. They'll yell. They'll yell at you, screaming in a blood-curdling fashion while charging at you through the bush. Imagine standing out in the woods and you hear something crashing down in front of you right towards you, making large guttural yells. Be enough to knock me off my game on my best day. And no, I don't think they're all Bigfoot, you guys. But I'm saying that there are the reason that there are excuses for the people who are still missing, who don't get recovered. Their reasons don't cover the amount of people that are gone every year. We've got to be looking at supernatural reasons as well. Alien abduction. People who have passed away due to the paranormal. People who have possibly time slipped. Bigfoot attacks. Cryptid attacks in general. Now, while they'll tell you there's no proof that Bigfoot has ever killed anyone, that kind of stands for saying we just don't have a picture of them killing someone, because obviously if the Bigfoot killed this man, he's not going to tell you about it. He's dead. I firmly believe that humans who step in their territory and who've been attacked to the point of dying are either eaten or their bodies are just discarded somehow, be it buried or burned. But specifically the Pacific Northwest, you guys, the number of people who go missing in national parks, and we're not talking just forested areas, you guys, we're talking about deserts in Utah and Nevada and Arizona. These people don't just disappear in thick wooded areas that it would be hard to find somebody. We're talking about in flatlands out in the desert where you would figure, you know, a large rescue party and a helicopter could probably find someone who was smart enough to, you know, try to flag somebody down, make, some kind of an SOS symbol. But no, these people vanish without a trace. And like I said, these organizations will tell you, oh, we recover the vast majority of missing people every year. But they don't really give you the numbers of people recovered. And if you do get numbers, check them versus the other companies and the other places that do the numbers, and they're all different. Every single set of numbers, and it's not a little bit different. It's vastly different. It's because they're guessing. They don't know. There are millions of people, 8 million, according to their own reports, that go missing every year worldwide. Now, whether you think that it's murderers and, human traffickers and things of this nature that are accounting for these numbers, even if you don't believe in the abductions or the cryptid attacks or all the other various supernatural explanations, how scary of a thought really is it? Is it much more comforting to not believe that it's something supernatural? Because me personally, I'm not really comforted by the fact that if it's some of these are not accountable for or not accounted by supernatural means, that we have people on this earth sick enough to do this to millions of people every year, going back decades. It seems too big of a job for what we know. We roughly know the amount of people who are human trafficked every year. Don't let them fool you. A lot of these organizations are allowed to skate under certain countries' laws and operate, but we have information on them. The CIA, the FBI, all these other, Interpol, all these places have the information on the numbers of people that go to these organizations. Now, they may not know where all these organizations are keeping all of their victims and so on and so forth, and maybe that's why they don't act. Well, maybe they do know. For all we know, they might be part of it. But the fact of the matter is the numbers aren't adding up, because even at a majority, like I said, 6 million out of 8. And that's being generous, because technically them saying, well, we recover a majority of them, a majority could be 4.5 million people. That still leaves 3.5 million people missing every year. I'm being generous and knocking it down to 2 million people. That's 1.5 million less people. But the numbers still don't add up. What is happening to the missing humans on this planet? Are we be taking somewhere else? I've heard conspiracies that say that we're populating an alternate dimension or another planet even. That we are purposely shipping these people off to repopulate another place. What do you guys in the chat think? Where do all these missing people go? And like I said, really think about this, okay? This is not just some blasé, 1 million people. 8 million people a year go missing. And if even, like I said, they're using their words, which is the majority of them are found, or a majority of them are found, A majority could be anything over half. So, how many people do they really find? We don't have the numbers. But my guess is there's still millions of people missing every year that aren't accounted for. They're not just trafficking victims, they're not just murder victims. So, where do these extra people go? Or maybe you don't believe in any of that. Like I said, maybe you believe it is the traffickers and the murderers that are getting these people these extra numbers. But the mathematics that our government is giving us and that these international agencies like the Red Cross are giving us, they don't match. They don't match with the numbers we know of human trafficking. They don't match with the numbers that we accredit to murders. Even if you take in all the Jane Doe and John Does and all this that are unclaimed bodies, the numbers don't make sense. At minimum, you're looking at like 800,000 people a year that you can still not account for. And I don't believe it's that low. Like I said, I believe we're closer to either 1.5 million, 2 million people. Which, like I said, there's still room to grow on that because a majority could have been there's 3.5 million people unaccounted for every year that don't get found. A crazy, like I said, going back on my tangent, a crazy amount of these people that are never found when they disappear in national parks. And a lot of times when their bodies are discovered, it's a year or two or more later. And they'll discover a skeleton leaned up against a tree or a fragment of bone just randomly on the forest floor. Are all of these people going missing in these national forests just completely incapable of finding civilization if they get lost? Do their compasses that some of them bring, do they just not work? I know a lot of outdoors people, and I would burn down the forest around me before I would just die of exposure and starvation and dehydration. We live in a modern world, and most places that people go hiking are somewhere near a form of civilization, whether that's a ranger tower or a small village or even large cities near the mountains. I feel like most experienced woodsmen know the basics of how to get out of, bad terrain. You go downhill always. If you can find water, you follow the water. You keep yourself visible. And if you're supposed to be at a scheduled site, if you think there's a chance for rescue, stay put. They talk about it like these people are stupid, like weekend warriors who've never been camping and who go out there, once or twice a summer to go, mess around in the woods for 6 hours while their family barbecues. These are experienced people on a large scale that go missing. These are hunters. These are trackers. These are wildlife photography experts. People who know the terrain, who know the risks, and who know how to survive. How do you explain their disappearances? Bad luck? Maybe a creature attack? Maybe an alien abduction? Maybe just an accident? But does it really, like I said, account for the numbers? If 8 million people a year go missing globally and 3.5 million of them are never found again, that sounds to me like we're losing some people that we can't account for to such a large degree that we have to be doing something with them. We have to be hiding the fact that these people are being disappeared. and covering it somehow. I'm going to be really interested to read you guys' comments on this one, because this is one that's always bugged me. The amount of people that disappear on this planet every year is absurd. I mean, especially now. We live in the information age, man. We live in the age of satellite phones and freaking map, you know what I mean, Google Maps and all these other, it's really hard to get lost if you know anything about how to survive in the wilderness in the first place now. You can almost always find a road or find, a ranger station or find a communications tower or any number of ways to you know, find yourself in a more secure environment if you get lost. I'm going to cut this one short, you guys. I hope you guys have a great evening. I'm going to go spend some time with my kiddo, do the dad thing for a little bit before he's got to go to bed. But I've enjoyed having this conversation with you guys, and I'm sure I'm enjoying reading the comments in the live chat. Thank you to all my subscribers and members. I love you guys so much. I appreciate everyone who donates to the channel. Your money helps me out, like I said, I have a lot of people in the house right now, and I'm taking care of them as best I can. And all your donations are helping towards that. I'm also, like I said, saving up some of the donations to the side so that I can try to get some cool equipment to go do at least a few ghost hunts for you guys. And we'll see how that goes and what the response is from there. Much more to come on Straight Jacket White Rabbit. You guys stay tuned, stay informed. Love you guys. Good night.